Presentations, we are going to receive a presentation from Shyama Clooney, AT&T San Mateo County Government Affairs.
Good evening, honorable members of the council. My name is Shyama Clooney. I'm with the External Affairs Department at AT&T, and I'm here at your request to answer some of your questions and to provide information on a recent telephone outage. I just want to start by saying that there's still an investigation underway as to the cause of the incident, so I'm not going to comment specifically on that item, but I will give you an account of the events that occurred. There was an ongoing construction project, I think several, underway in the area of AT&T's manhole at the intersection of San Mateo and San Bruno Avenues, and that included a nearby storm drain. When the storm occurred on October the 5th, water flowed into our manhole instead of into the storm drain. The rush of water resulted in 16 feet of water into the manhole, causing damage to 5 large cables of ours. AT&T immediately brought in work crews, and our first priority was to pump the water out of the manhole. This required several large pumps and several hours to drain. We notified the San Bruno Department of Public Works of the situation at 8:30 a.m., and we wanted to make them aware of what was going on and ask them to assist with stopping and or redirecting the runoff from the storm drain and to prevent additional water from going into the manhole. The diverted storm drain was plugged and capped at approximately 12 noon, and the water was completely drained by 2 p.m. that day. And then we began the process of using high-powered fans to dry out the cables and restore service. 2 of the 5 cables that were impacted were successfully returned to service through this process of drying out the cables. 3 cables required AT&T techs to replace sections of the cable, and that resulted in a more extensive repair. That more extensive repair required splicing of the individual lines. AT&T's crews did work around the clock, 24/7, to assess and repair the damage. All but a few lines of service were successfully restored by October the 12th, though most customers did have service restored within 5 days. There were a few customers that had some service impacts that required additional visits from a technician and additional work on our part. Notification of this service impacting incident was provided to the CPUC and the FCC through a mechanized process that we have as required. We do regret the impact that this service outage has had on our customers, and we are continuing our investigation regarding the incident. Customers who were affected by the outage can contact AT&T, and they will be given credit for their time out of service. So, and now I'm available to you to answer your questions.
Shyama, are all the lines back now?
They are all back in service.
And was it a San Bruno only event, or did it affect other cities in the peninsula?
The customers that were affected, for the most part, were San Bruno residents, but as I understand it, Millbrae customers were affected as well.
Okay, and are they back in service too?
They are.
They are. So there's no one out of service now that you know?
There is no one, to my knowledge, that is out of service.
Okay, and was the line actually cut? I'm not saying who cut it or if it was, but was it cut? In other words, these lines are usually insulated to prevent water intrusion. So I was just curious to see why the water affected it so much.
Well, it was an unusually, first of all, it was an unusual incident.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of water involved, and so the lines got soaked. They got very wet. 2 of the 5, as I said, they were not so damaged that splicing was required or additional repair was required beyond drying them with a high-powered fan, but 3 of them were so soaked and so wet that they did require repair and splicing.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the reasons you're here tonight, of course, is to give us an explanation, but also because I don't think the communications that occurred, or that didn't occur between AT&T and the city, were where they should have been. We got lots of calls from citizens complaining, and we're trying to give them up-to-date information, and I don't think that existed. So I certainly hope that's not going to be the case in the future.
And I do regret that's the sentiment of, it seems, the City Council. I will give you all my contact information, and please feel free to avail yourselves of me. I am your contact, your liaison to the company, and if you have any concerns in the future, please feel free to contact me. I feel like the lines of communication have been opened between myself and the city staff, as well as yourself, and so I think that's a positive thing we can focus on.
Okay. Any other comments from council members?
Chair, real quick, and then
Mr.
my colleague.
Medina?
And I appreciate that the communication level now is going to be open and flow. And as the mayor said, that there seemed to be frustration by the residents of San Bruno, that I received calls and emails in regards to the responsiveness and trying to get an ETA and an estimate of what was happening and how long. And again, some of these things were affecting those people who are more mature in our community, and neighbors were concerned for their well-being and safety. And that you're going to provide to staff or to us a contact, but I think what it is, it's also to the residents.
Okay.
It's to those people that are on the front lines that are affected primarily, that we want to make sure have an outlet and some type of an opportunity to go to a neighbor and pick up the phone and get some response that will help them and comfort them. So I appreciate you're going to offer it to us, but it needs to be to our residents. That's where I'm concerned here.
And I'd be happy to take that information back to the company. Do you have any specific suggestions as to how we could be more responsive? Perhaps give more specific information when residents call? Is that what you're referring to?
Well, for example, I mean, we do have San Bruno Cable. We certainly, if there's particular contact information, we have a website. If there's a issue that arises, you can certainly alert staff. We can try to put out that information to avenues we have. But just for me to have that contact, so when I'm getting emails or phone calls, really, I want that resident to feel that they can pick up, that they're the customer. Okay, and they should be able to feel that they're being serviced and their concerns are being met. And unfortunately, in this particular situation, I don't feel they felt that, at least from what I was told.
Okay. I do regret that. Customers can, if there is a situation that causes them to lose service or that impacts service, they can call our 1-800-288-2020 number, and they should be able to get a representative on the line relatively quickly who can address their concerns. Like I said, I will give you my contact information so that if you receive information from residents in the city, you can contact me.
That might be good and bad for me to have that.
Up to you. We'll
Any
see
other
what
questions
you think.
or comments? Irene?
Thank you. And I too appreciate that you're here and that you're going to give us contact information. But it seems to be, if we have something, we call you. Is there a time that you would alert us and staff before the residents call us and say what the heck's going on, so that we would know what the heck was going on before we had to call you? Would you call us first when something happens, or is that not how it works?
My job is to be your liaison to the business and to represent your concern to the business and vice versa. So, if there's something that I think requires your attention, I will certainly give staff a call, or whomever you direct me to call, I will certainly do that.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Good. Anything else, Ken?
Mayor, thank you for being here, but I'm
Sure.
not going to pull punches here. This was a major outage, and I followed as staff tried to accommodate our wishes and our information and trying to dig deeper to see what was going on and trying to assess how long it would be and how many people were being affected. None of those estimations were accurate, in my understanding. We're talking October 5th to October 12th. It's a major thing, and with all due respect to you, I would think that we would have some engineer here, someone of more technical expertise that can explain, this is what possibly happened, this is sort of why, this is the evidence we have up to now. It is now October 25th, and you're telling me that it's still under investigation. I mean, is this an isolated case? Is this something that has been brewing for a while? Is this something that somewhat happens every time it rains. I don't even remember it raining on October 5th. So with all appreciation of you being here to open communications, there's nothing new. I mean, I don't think that there's any new information for our residents to feel better about. This could happen tomorrow,
Yeah.
you know, and we may hear from you a little better or whatever, but we don't know anything different.
Well, I just want to emphasize that this is a very unusual situation for AT&T. And I also want to emphasize how much we really value our customers and our reputation in the community of San Bruno. So I don't want to minimize, you know, the impact that this had on our customers or on you as representatives of the customers. But I also want to make sure that I honor, you know, my role to be, you know, careful and honest and forthcoming with you, and I don't want to give you incorrect information. So to the extent that I have information, I've provided it to you, and somebody else in the business at AT&T, an engineer or whomever, would have the same amount of information that I have at this point. Unfortunately, this was a significant enough event, and there were enough factors involved that the investigation is taking, you know, a little while, and it does continue to be underway. As soon as there's additional information to be shared, you know, please feel free to contact me, and I'll keep, again, lines of communication open with you, and then we'll continue to develop the relationship.
Right, so for the public, what assurances does AT&T have that they have a better grasp of preventing what happened on October 5th? Do they? I mean, can you make a statement in that regard?
You know, I started out my presentation by talking about the various factors that might have impacted what happened that evening. And so I think it would be presumptuous for me to say that, you know, I can speak to what AT&T will do or won't do in the future before we know exactly what happened. But I will say that at AT&T, we do everything in our power to make sure that we provide excellent service to our customers. In fact, I emphasize that our crew worked 24/7. That is unusual for them, well into the night and into the early morning, every day until this was resolved and every customer was restored. I can tell you that we paid close attention to those customers whose service was not restored in 5 days, and we did give them, to the best of our ability, one-on-one attention. And so I want to make sure that I emphasize that it is really important to us to continue to provide good customer service, and that, again, this was a very unusual occurrence. I think we can probably all agree that this kind of thing doesn't happen typically.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry, but all I'm going to say is, and I do appreciate you being here. I didn't say that, so I want to acknowledge that. And poor you had to come down and bear us with this news. And I think you'll find that this community, when faced with a unique situation, we can get through it. We can pull together.
Mm-hmm.
We're a good town. We just need to know what's happening, and news travels fast in this community.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get the information to the right folks, it gets out quickly.
Thank you. Mr. Rico?
Unusual?
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you for having me.
Robert Rico, 7th Avenue. Two things. Your comment that this was unusual. Since 2002, we've had bad rainstorms almost every year, once or twice, November, December, where the San Mateo Avenue has had flooding conditions, which means water's going to go where it shouldn't, potentially into AT&T openings. With the grade separation, there's going to be more street openings. There's going to be more storm drains that are limited access or whatever. How is AT&T going to be more proactive and have somebody out here or work with the city to make sure that they can do everything proactively so that next time it rains for whatever reason in the next year, we're not going to have the same situation? Thank you.
I appreciate your comment, and I'm sorry, I feel like I'm not providing satisfactory answers, but I can tell you that you wouldn't want me to comment on something and make things up out of whole cloth or, again, be disingenuous
We'll
or
defend you.
speculate. So I really can't provide any specific information about how we can prevent this from happening again, because as I said, the cause is still unknown, and potentially there were several factors involved. And, but I just want to reassure you that having personally been at AT&T for 12 years and having personally been involved in dealing with this situation internally, that everybody involved had as their first priority restoring every single customer as quickly as possible.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.